Perfect. So yeah, so welcome everyone. And this is our second Careers Hub information webinar. So if you remember, we have these once every term, and then the other part of the term, we then have the Careers Leader face-to-face network that we have as well. So these 1 hour sessions are likely to be a bit of an information overload for you, but we sort of pick out some providers that we think are particularly going to be useful for you and are great working in the area. A little bit of an update for myself. And then there'll certainly be time then at the end for any questions that you've got as well. And today we're joined by Speakers of Schools, so that's Ellie and Ian. So thank you so much for joining us. We've also got Natalie from Make Happen as well. So they're going to do sort of 10-15 minutes each. Then we'll go into the hub update. After each of those presentations, there will be time for questions. And any comments or anything that you've got whilst they're going through the presentations. If I can ask you to go on mute, that would be great. And either you'll have a chance to ask the questions by coming off mute at the end of the presentations, or indeed put them in the chat and we'll make sure that we get through them from there as well. So if it's okay, Ellie, Ian, I'll hand over to you first, if that's all right. If you've got anything to share on the screen, then do feel free to.
Thanks, highlight as myself, and doing a really bad job of it. Right, let me just get my slideshow ready to go. Ellie will also, if anybody would like to pop questions in the chat, Ellie will also be sharing some links. So highlight, thanks for having me, and hi to anyone that doesn't know who we are. Hopefully by the end of this 15 minutes, you'll be aware of Speakers for Schools and how we can help. So my name's Ian. My role is Head of Engagement for the South East for Speakers for Schools. What does that rather fluffy title mean in a nutshell? It means that 20% of my role is spent working with new and existing businesses so they can provide fantastic opportunities for young people. It means 20% of my role is spent working with schools, colleges and independent training providers to ensure they're aware of Speakers for Schools, how it can support their and your young people, and also to provide any bespoke training, just so you're aware, because we get asked this all the time. We are fully funded by the Law Foundation, which allows us to offer all our programmes free of charge. Another 20% of my role is spent working, developing relationships with LEPs, careers hubs, Chamber of Commerce, to ensure people are, again, very much an education awareness piece, who we are, what we do, and how we can support both from a business side and from a school, college, independent training provider side. So I'll let Ellie introduce herself as well.
Afternoon, everyone. Sorry, my throat's a little bit croaky. Luckily, it hasn't completely gone. I'm Ellie Lambert. I am the Education Relationship Manager in the South East. So I am kind of, I suppose, your first point of call for any kind of Essex-based schools, colleges and independent training providers. I will kind of work with schools, with educators and with young people in those schools to support them in accessing the different opportunities that we offer. Ian will sort of run through the programmes that we run, but sort of very briefly, it's a combination of kind of inspirational talks with various forms of employer encounters as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Ellie. Can everybody see my screen? Just a thumbs up from one person. Thanks, Isla. Perfect. So for those of you that haven't heard of Speakers for Schools, we were founded by Robert Peston, who's ITV's political editor, with a view to wiping out educational inequality by offering young people who are in state schools, colleges and independent training providers with fantastic networks through, as Ellie was saying, our inspirational programme or our experience programme, or even our national team book club. If you haven't heard of us, don't be too surprised. Although we're 13 years old, we've experienced massive exponential growth within really the last 3 years, to allow us to really impact over nearly 250,000 young people last academic year. Please feel free, I really encourage you to either stick your hand up if you have any questions or pop something in the chat. I used to teach, I'm a big fan of keeping it fluid, because no one really wants to hear me go on, and I can go on for a good 15 minutes. So I'm just going to move from here. So as you can see here, so we've got Robert Peston, our founder, and Andrew Law, who's our chairman, who helps fund us through the Law Foundation. So as I was saying, we can offer schools, colleges and independent training providers across the UK and also across the South East fully funded programs. So on here, you can see very, very briefly our 4 programs. So our inspiration program is where we started off. So the inspiration program essentially connects our network of around about 1,700 speakers. And those speakers can be anyone from Grayson Perry to Danny from McFly, to anyone who's achieved a great deal of success within their industry to use their skills to really support us, and all those speakers donate their time free of charge. So our in-person talks are done with individual schools. So Ellie will post the links to those talks. So as we go through, you'll be able to see those links, and we will send Hyla a little email briefing after this, just so you have those links. So we have our in-person talks. So they are essentially, you as a school or college would book those talks. Our inspiration team, you would focus on a topic. Our inspiration team would then utilize that to match up. Because you guys are based in and around Essex, what that will allow, it will probably allow you, if we're being super honest, a greater chance of getting a speaker face to face. We do virtual options. The reason why that is, the majority of our speakers are based in and around London, so you're well within that commutable distance, but the option is entirely up to you. Normally these talks are done to around about 130 young people, really beneficial and a really good opportunity to see. So young people, again, free of charge to hear from those. We have virtual broadcasts. So I'm actually hosting a virtual broadcast. A virtual broadcast is essentially our in-person talks are done face-to-face to one school. Broadcasts, you can either log on as a student or log on as a teacher and kind of present to your group. So they're around about 40 to 60-minute sessions, which are both recorded. And I'm sure Ellie will pop those up there, as she already has done. So they're either recorded or they're done live, so you can watch them from both ends. So really good for tutorials, to give a really good snapshot of a range of industries, from hospitality to sport to museums to art. So we've had Stormzy, Gareth Southgate work with us to do some really cool talks. As I said, I've got a really good one with Vodafone coming up tomorrow, which 700 young people across the country will be attending. Some are individual bookings from students and some will be group bookings. So that's essentially our inspiration program. Our experience program is our work experience. So it's, again, helping young people demystify industries, get rid of stereotypes, utilize the fact that not every young person is going to go from GCSEs, A-levels degree. And if they do go in that linear path, brilliant. But what we want to do is show young people that regardless of where they sit with regards to their education, it's possible for them to do lots of different roles. So a quick example is we did a World Cup of Careers, all about careers in football. And there were lots of different talks from a sports physio who works for Spurs and was told he'd never be clever enough to do a physio, which for me, be a physio, which is scandalous, but also from a sports lawyer and a sports investor and a sports tax advisor who work with Premier League footballers, all saying, actually, you know what, you can go the linear route, but also there's lots of different ways. So it's really opening up experiences to young people so they can see that actually they can do anything they want, and it's not all about the grades they get. Yes, it's important, but it's not all about those, and there are lots of different routes. So there are our programs, and you can see here is an example of our inspiration broadcast. So again, this one's going to be an hour, but what Ellie's done there, you can see all the different talks from there. So that's our inspiration side. So it's either the face-to-face or virtual, one school per speaker. Broadcast, which is many schools in the country will go to. So this one with Kerr from Vodafone, 25 schools and 700 young people across the country will be attending that tomorrow. And also we've got our video library as well.
You didn't write, so we need to maybe put them in for Friday.
Sorry, if you could mute your mic, that'd be great. Thank you. Here we have our experience program. So very briefly, we've got our discovery workshops. So discovery workshops are essentially booked on by the tutor and streamed to the classroom directly. We very much see these as a broad brush approach. So they're snippets to give young people an introduction into a world of work through several companies. And Ellie's popped those on, so please feel free to have a look at those. They can be booked using the Microsoft form. So a little shout out to some Essex companies we are working with. We are doing a discovery workshop with SS&C Financial Services, all about apprenticeships within finance. That promises to be a really good session for National Apprenticeship Week. If anyone is interested in that, although the deadline has gone, we're happy to extend that. So if you are interested, more than happy to do that. And from kind of a school and college perspective, if you need us to present to you, if you need us to do bespoke training, it doesn't take much. It's not like using, I suppose, pro monitor systems and student tracking systems, but it does need staff to go on and understand it and see how it works, because there's nothing worse than a staff member trying to log on, but they've not done a 5-minute training session, so 50 odd students miss out. So we've got loads of different things coming on. We also have Insight Days. So we've got Hill Construction, who are based in Waltham Abbey, who will be doing an Insight session in National Careers Week from there. And we also have bigger placements. So, for example, we've done a placement with, over the summer, Bank of England was really good. Reed Smith, the lawyers based in Liverpool, just near Liverpool Street Station. So we have a combination of virtual and face-to-face. We can also do face-to-face discovery workshops as well. Very similar to the talks, but it involves not a lower level of staff member, but companies coming in and doing a talk to young people. We've done some work across Essex with Shields, who are a comms company, and they've very kindly gone across and done some face-to-face talks from there. Hi, look, how long have I got, please?
You've got about 6 minutes left, if that's
6
all
minutes.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no problem. Charlotte, just in answer to your question, the opportunity ID for the workshop, when you see the workshop, it will be at the top. Ellie, can you do a print screen for me as an example? Is that all right? Perfect. Thanks, Charlotte. And that wasn't even planned either, was it? So on here, we have some sessions that we're doing. So we do some stuff with the NHS, we do theme days, but at the same time, look, I used to teach, I used to kind of manage for an independent training provider. And for me, what we want to offer, we don't want to offer just construction or just NHS. We want to offer a real high range of opportunities, both from multinationals. It's great to say we work with Boots, we work with Vodafone, we work with Bank of England, but also I think it's really important to say we work with sole traders as well. So, for example, we work with a company called Creative Portal. That is essentially a LinkedIn for creatives to help them create portfolios. And that is one person. However, it's one of our most popular placements across the year. So on here, we do have National Apprenticeship Week coming up. So we have, off the top of my head, I think 46 different opportunities. Additionally, adding on to that, I think we have another 6 speakers who will talk about everything in terms of national apprenticeships. So we do have, sorry, I'm keeping Ellie on her toes. We do have a calendar. So Ellie will pop the calendar in there. And that will essentially give you all the opportunities that we've got and a little bit of a snippet. So if you are keen to go on those, please feel free to reach out to us directly, because the deadline for the majority of these may have gone. And also, I'm just going to do a really shameless plug. We've recently brought Vodafone on board, and we have a session on Vodafone apprentices on the 9th of February. Promises to be a really popular one. They're all individual student applications, but again, any training you want, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to Ellie and I. Again, they don't take too long. Appreciate you're all very busy people, but I'm very much aware that it's really important to have these training sessions so people understand it and see how easy it is to use. So you can see some examples of sessions we've got. So we've got SS&C up on there. We've got one GoVox, which is all about mental health and well-being. Ground Control, all about sustainability. And we've also got IBM, who have just decided to do a placement with us. So there's lots of those on there. They are all available on our website, should you wish. So that's those. Again, Vodafone apprenticeships, my shameless plug is up there, almost as if we've planned it. One we've got with Siemens, and one we've got a very recent one. So Tim is a friend of mine. For those of you, physio is really popular, right, for sports students, anyone that's based in a college. I used to teach BTECs in a college. Sport and physio are really popular. Tim went to college, did a BTEC qualification, went to a boys' school, was told he wasn't clever enough, went and did a BTEC, then went and did a degree, then went and did his masters. He's worked with Man City, Rangers, Sale Sharks. He's now at Spurs, but he also does his independent stuff as well. He's had a fantastic career, and he's a great speaker. So anyone that is interested in that, that would be fantastic. That in answer to the question, these aren't recorded. So the experience in terms of safeguarding, they're not recorded. However, the virtual broadcasts are recorded, if that makes sense. However, also a double however, if you do see one of these and say, Ian, we've got 20, 30 students that would benefit from a physio session or a financial services session, we can see if we can work in terms of bespoke sessions from there. Thanks, Ellie. And then we do have a National Team Book Club. So very, very quickly, I'm aware of the time. National Team Book Club is essentially works with cohorts across the year. And from the National Team Book Club, it works on things like having 5 or 6 sessions from 3:30 to 4:30 on a Wednesday. I'm sure Ellie will correct me if I'm wrong on the chat. With nationally renowned authors. So you can see those from here. You can see what a session looks like, working on speaking, listening, reading and writing skills, but also publishing skills, which I think in kind of the English side of things is sometimes neglected, but vitally important from there. Next steps here, and we'll pop this in along with everything else. We'll try and keep it really simple, but we'll pop this in just to reinforce everything we do offer is unlimited, fully funded. So it doesn't, as a school or college, cost you anything, but we are not free in the case that we're free and it's just not worth the paper it's written on. We're free because we are funded. I think for once I'm in time, which is a minor miracle.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Ian. And it's great to see that there's loads of questions and comments that were going on the chat, including some that I'm sure you must have been paying for in terms of how great some of the sessions have been. So good to get that positive feedback already. I know, Ellie, I can see that you've been answering some questions as we've been going along. Sue and Charlotte, I think it's you that mentioned in terms of the timings of some of these sessions and that you struggle to get students out of lessons for them. As Ellie mentioned, I know that you do slots with sort of as twilight sessions in school holidays as well. I know you ran some previously, but I wonder if it's also worth mentioning it to any of the people that run the after school clubs within your schools as well, because potentially some of these will fit in lovely, like you were saying about the sustainability one that's coming up. Well, that most schools now have an eco or a green club or something like that, so potentially they might want to make use of that. So that could be an option. I realise perhaps not perfect for every school, but nonetheless could still be an option, and a great way of making it so that it is whole school approach rather than it always coming down to the careers leaders to do these things. So could be another option for you. I can see that there's questions in the chat, but did anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask out loud? I'm not sure if that's the right term, but come off mic and ask.
Hello, I'm here.
Hiya, Claire. What's your question, Han?
Hello. So we are a Speakers for Schools school, if there is such a thing. And you send me loads and loads of lovely opportunities, which I then forward on to the students. Is there any way that I can cut me out of being the middleman and you liaise directly with the students?
Well, we have a student prospectus, so provided that you get your students registered on our experience portal, right, and you have sent out the links to our student prospectus, everything is there, for them to explore online, explore on the portal and apply for. Other than, of course, the discovery workshops, which are for the educators to book onto themselves. So provided you've done those kind of initial first steps of encouraging them to get themselves registered as a young person and encouraging them to look regularly for opportunities, then it's not just up to you to be sending out the opportunities, but that kind of, I suppose, that initial push does need to happen from you, ideally.
Sure. So they register themselves. We don't register them, obviously data protection, etc. So they register themselves. So is there any kind of email or anything that you could send us that is you selling yourselves to the students? You've sold yourselves to me, but you'd probably be the better people to sell yourselves to them than me trying to do it. Is there any sort of standard letter or something that you could send me that I could send out to the students?
I mean, I find the most effective way is for me to run an assembly of some kind.
Okay.
Probably virtual assembly because I'm based down on the south coast.
Sure.
But yeah, assemblies are always the best, I suppose, at kind of reaching students. Other than that, I can send you a kind of a link that you can send out, which automatically direct students to the registration page. That's a good way of encouraging them, even if you make them sort of, you asked your IT teachers or something to spend 5 minutes at the beginning of an IT lesson just to quickly get everyone registered. That's always quite a good way to do it, rather than sort of putting the onus on them to do it when they get home.
Sure.
Yeah, other than that, it's just kind of making sure the student prospectus is somewhere, you know, kind of either on the VLE or kind of, you know, school platforms, so they can kind of use that as a quick link to continually kind of search upcoming opportunities.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
Great question, Claire. Thanks for that.
Just, I don't know if it's helpful, but in our school, because we have the same problem, that I was getting the emails and it relied on me to forward it, and I only work 2 days a week, so that can be problematic in itself. And actually, we've now got a careers site where I just put everything on it, and I put your Speakers for Schools link on that, and we have a work experience page, and I put your link to the portal on that so that students sign up. And it's been really nice because you'll suddenly get these pings that, oh, 5 students have applied for work experience and you haven't even promoted it. But because it's on that site and the tutors are saying, don't forget it, every month, it does happen. So I don't know if that's helpful to whoever just spoke, but that's really worked for us and taken the pressure off me, who sometimes your emails you're in absolute email overload and you just don't even get to forward it. Maybe that's just my experience. So
no, that's a brilliant idea, and that's exactly what we're, you know, hoping you all can do. In addition to that as well, you're allowed to kind of invite your colleagues to also join the portal, so it doesn't necessarily always fall on your back as the kind of main careers lead. You know, you can get your heads of years, you can get your subject leads to register, so they can just be looking out for relevant opportunities coming out directly to them rather than you having to do all the forwarding. So I would encourage you to kind of get as many sort of teachers registered as an educator under your school or college as possible, just to kind of take the weight off your shoulders a little bit as well, share the workload.
Very, very quickly, I'd also add to that, there's one thing that seems to have worked very well is just having a 15-minute CPD session at the end. And I really like the idea of kind of putting it on kind of the Moodle and the VLE and just putting in that specific page, because everyone's then seeing it, right? But yeah, a combination of those 3 things should make it really helpful and take the pressure off you guys. And the more students that do it, the more they're going to really benefit from it.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Ian and Ellie. Really appreciate you coming along. You're obviously very welcome to stay. I'm sure there might be some more questions that come up in the chat. So if you do have any more questions for Ian and Ellie, I'm sure they'll also put their contact details in the chat as well. But as you say, we'll forward on the links and bits that you've put in the chat and that you'll email to me after as well, as a follow-up too. So thank you so much. Pleased to say that I'm going to hand over now to Natalie, who is the head of Make Happen, to talk through, well, just the wealth of resources and support that they're able to offer. So Natalie, thanks for sharing your screen. I'll pass you over. Thank you.
Thanks, Hyla. Yeah, so there's definitely a few people who are probably quite familiar with Make Happen here, but equally you may not be. So yeah, Hyla just asked me to do a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we get up to, basically. So yeah, so I'm Natalie. I'm the head of Make Happen, and we have a team of about 25 staff members who operate within Essex. Now, Make Happen is part of the National Uni Connect programme, which is funded by the Office for Students. There's 29 different versions of Make Happen, basically, across the country, all called different things. But Make Happen specifically works with Essex, so geographical Essex, so including Southend and Thurrock as well. And basically our main activities is around giving impartial information about progressing to higher education. So we do the whole sort of education journey from secondary school onwards. Also, we don't just sort of talk about traditional routes to university. We do try and talk about all of the different options that are out there for students, including apprenticeships and all the different versions of those that are around. So our sort of formal aims, which are the UniConnect aims. So the main thing really that we're trying to achieve is to reduce the gap between the most and least represented students in higher education. And I'll mention in a moment some of those key student groups that we look to work with. It's all about making sure that students are making an informed choice. So we're just here to make sure they've got the information. We are not specifically affiliated with any university or college. Our goal is to represent all of the options in the local area, and that sort of comes into that third one. Then there is to part of our job is to form a sort of local network of all of those different options that are out there for students. We can also support obviously schools, colleges, local authorities to sort of work with all of those different options that are out there as well. And the last thing is that we are trying to increase the amount of evidence that nationally we have about what works in outreach. So really focusing on developing best practice. And in order to do that, we always evaluate all of our activities. So if any of you have ever taken part in Make Happen activity before, you know that there tends to be some kind of survey or something the students do. And that's the whole point of that, is to really make sure that what we're doing is effective. So I mentioned that we have some target audiences, so I just wanted to break them down here in case you're not familiar with our work. So the bulk of our work, certainly historically, has been based around these UniConnect students. So that's based on postcodes, essentially. So areas where people historically have been achieving well at GCSE, but for some reason they're not progressing on to higher education. That's what we call our sort of UniConnect students. It's just about where they live. At the moment, we're able to work with those students between the years of 10 and up to year 13. We are able to sort of postcode profile students. We do that for sort of whole school as well as sort of individuals and small groups of students. So if you're ever interested as to whether your students fall into that category, we're able to do that. I think also there is a tool available publicly on the UniConnect website as well now. Some of our sort of more recent student groups then that we work with are we sort of refer to them as underrepresented groups. So we do now work with adult learners through our colleges, care experience students or children in care, Gypsy, Roma and traveller communities, refugees, students with special educational needs or disabilities, as well as service children as well. So if you have any sort of specific needs for those students within your schools or colleges, we're able to support them very specifically to support them to progress. And as you can see as well, we're able to work with those all the way down to year 7, all the way up to adult learners. Another thing that we believe is really important is providing teacher CPD as well as parents and carers to make sure that students almost have that wraparound support. And we think it's really important that teachers and parents and carers actually get the same sort of information that students are getting, and making sure that that information is up to date and not just based on sort of personal experience, which might be a significant time ago now, and things sort of have changed and moved on. So we are able to offer that as well. In terms of how our team sort of works then, we have 3 sort of sub-teams within Make Happen. We have a team that specifically supports the FE colleges within Essex. We have a team that looks at doing projects and very specifically working with those underrepresented groups that I mentioned. But the main bulk of our team support the schools in the county, and we have grouped those schools based on sort of geographic area. And so as you can see there, we've got 6 different sort of groupings. You will notice that not all areas of Essex are included in those 6 groupings. So you might be thinking, hang on a second, we're not included there. We are able to work with other areas of the county, but those areas are sort of our priorities. We do offer work, Chelmsford's a big one that obviously isn't mentioned there. We have recently supported some Chelmsford schools with some sort of one-off activity, but those sort of 6 areas really are our main priorities in terms of that's where the students are located. Obviously, particularly with the underrepresented groups, you may well have a large population of, for example, care experience students that you feel that you need some support with. And wherever you are in the county, we would really love to hear from you if that does fit your school or college. Just a little bit there then about how we actually prioritise, how we basically chose those 6 areas. So we looked at obviously the UniConnect student numbers, as I mentioned, in terms of postcodes. There's a measure called Polar 4, which is about disadvantage, free school meal data, and we also have a look at the attainment levels in English and maths as well. As I mentioned, we do have a projects team, so they offer some cross-county events. All of those are advertised for sign up on our website, also through our newsletter, and often through email as well to schools that we have contacts within. If you're not already signed up to our newsletter, you can go onto any page of our website and just scroll down to the bottom and you can put in your information there. We send it out monthly. There's actually 3 different versions. So one's for students, one's for teachers, and one is for parents and carers. So if you want to stay up to date, particularly if you don't have a Make Happen officer that you are directly linked with, that's a really good way to stay on top of what's going on, as well as our events page on our website. We do also do activity that is for the community, so essentially for parents, carers, students to sign themselves up to. So for example, last year we ran a residential summer school that we recruited in that way, which was really successful as well. So we do a mixture of work through schools and colleges as well as individuals. So in terms of the types of activity, obviously our focus is thinking about progression to HE. So that could include things like apprenticeship, student finance, university, all of those sorts of things. We do campus visits as well and support with careers events. What we are really trying to focus on from this year sort of moving forward is moving away from delivery of a lot of ad hoc one-off hour here and there sessions that don't necessarily fit together, and really focusing on high quality progressive projects. And what I mean by progressive projects is we're seeing the same groups of students over multiple sessions to really support them to progress, essentially. And we know that the evidence shows that that is the most effective way for us to work, and it has the most impact for students as well. As I mentioned, we've obviously got our website. You can book a workshop on there. So we do sometimes get schools that we haven't worked with before will contact us via that way. And it also might just be useful for people to take a little look. It gives a little description for some of the different things that we offer as sort of standard. So yeah. So yeah, to give you an idea, particularly if you haven't heard of us before, which hopefully everyone has, but just in case, we have worked with loads of students over the years. So we've been operating since 2017. In that time, we've seen almost 100,000 students, which is amazing, and over 1,600 parents and carers. This year, 4,000 students to date, and over 170 parents and carers. So yeah, we do, we're very busy people, which is brilliant. Something else that we do have available on our website is the Make Happen Academy, which is open to anyone and everyone that visits our website. The content is sort of really suitable for sort of year 9 upwards, and there is also a teacher login where you can see everything that is on offer, including some teacher specific content as well. And there's loads, and I think we've got over 60 or something different videos on there. Particularly something that I think is really good is that we have got workplace insights. So we've got some interviews with people that work in different fields, and talking about their sort of journey and how they got to where they are today and what their day-to-day jobs look like, which is a really great thing for students to have a little look at. So yeah, that is absolutely free for everyone to access. It's instant access as well. You just need to sign up on our website and you'll be able to get straight into that to have a little look. Also on our website, we have got loads and loads and loads and loads of content. So we have a whole heap of basic guides to do with anything and everything about going to university, making choices after GCSE, all of those sorts of things. There's also a widget for the Uni Taster Days website, so you can go on there and search different events that are in the area, not just from us, but all of our university partners. There's also access to all of the Uni Taster Day videos on there as well, which does include pretty much every single subject that you could ever think of studying at university. As I already mentioned as well, there's the monthly newsletter, which you can sign up on any page of our website. And that is it from me. Yeah, thank you very much, Hyla, for letting me speak today. And if anyone's got any questions, please let me know. It'd be great to hear from anyone. Oh, Hyla's highly recommended the Make Happen Academy. Thank you so much, Hyla. Yeah, there's loads of great stuff on there. We only launched that in September, so if anyone has any ideas or things that they think would be helpful to put on there, we'd always love to hear from people. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Hyla's put a whole load of links in the chat. Thank you very much, Hyla.
I've been your PA as we've been going along, Natalie.
Yeah, and you're also, I feel like one of our biggest cheerleaders. So thank you very much, Hyla. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions or yeah, feel free to obviously have a little browse around our website, and you can contact us via there if you don't already have a Make Happen officer for your school or college.
Brilliant, thanks, Natalie. First of all, are there any questions for Natalie? Either chuck them in the chat or come off mute. Oh, you'll see that I have put loads of the links to different things on the Make Happen website in the chat. One of the things that may be particularly useful, well, that the Academy would be really useful to go on your website or VLE and encourage your students to go to. But another thing on there as well is there's a map of all of the sixth forms, colleges and universities within Essex as well, which is also great when you're working in terms of some of that progression piece, and also obviously great for your benchmark 7 as well. So yeah, so great resource on there as well that might be useful for you. Natalie, thank you so much. Really appreciate you going through that with us. Right, time for just a quick, and it will be quick so that we've got time for questions at the end as well. Quick little update from the Careers Hub. And as you may remember from last time, we are snappily calling this the Hub Date, which I still am in love with that name. So a few little bits from us, really. The first, main and most important thing of all is that our Hub team has grown. So really, really excited to welcome Tom and Adam to the team. Tom, Adam, I don't know if you just want to quickly come off mute and just introduce yourselves quick.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Tom. As you can see, I'm in the orange zone there. I've been in the role about 7 weeks, so I'm just at the point of introducing myself to my schools, and we've also started meeting with people that are interested in becoming things like enterprise advisors, so that's really exciting. So early days, but we hopefully will start to make a difference. Yeah,
brilliant. Thanks, Tom. For those of the schools that are in that orange patch, Tom has reached out to you all to, and I know many of you have got calls and meetings and bits. Tom's diary is looking rather full for the next little while, visiting all these schools, which is fantastic. If you haven't responded back to Tom yet, then do make sure that you get in touch with him, because I know that he's really keen to get out to all of his schools. Adam, I'm sure I saw you on the call. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hello, hi guys. I'm in the lovely, I suppose that's like a lime greeny colour side. I'll be looking after the west of Essex. I'm still currently just going through my induction. I'm a little bit behind Tom, so if you're in that area, then prepare for an email from me very shortly just to say hello and introduce myself.
Perfect. Thanks, Adam. And as you will already know, I'm sure if you're in these areas, but just as a reminder, in Thurrock, obviously we have Yvonne Evans, and in Southend we have Laura Bramley, who I know all the schools in those areas are already working and have been for the last 18 months really with Laura and Yvonne. The grey patch in the south there. So if you're in that patch, please don't panic. At the moment, we haven't recruited an enterprise coordinator for that patch. So what will be happening in the meantime is predominantly myself and also our new operational hub lead, Charlotte Condon, who starts on Monday, will be covering you. So myself and Charlotte will have a bit of a chat next week, and then we'll be in touch with you just to arrange those meetings. But as always, we're here if you need us. And so yeah, so that is our team at the moment. You've probably heard from Maisie through emails and bits previously. So Maisie Tilliard is our Careers Hub apprentice. I'm pleased to say that Isabel Upton, who's been working on a mentoring project in Southend over the last year or so, is going to support teacher encounters, which I'll explain in just a second, and also open doors for the Careers Hub. But say Charlotte Condon, who's joining us from one of the colleges within Essex, is joining us on Monday. So at the next one of these, and certainly at the March event, she'll be there for you to say hello to. I suppose so. Next up is just to update you about something that will be coming through to your inboxes and through your enterprise coordinator meetings. So we have been lucky enough to win some funding from the Careers and Enterprise Company to run a project called Teacher Encounters, which is kind of exactly what it says on the tin, really. So this is to get education staff, so anyone within a school or college, to have the opportunity to meet with employers and to visit their workplaces. Most of this will happen after the February half term and run up until the end of the academic year. 3 different sort of ways of interacting. There will be webinars, so twilight webinars, so there'll be after school hours for staff to join. We're going to pilot in 2 schools to run careers carousels. So if any of your schools have twilight sessions or CPD days where they're thinking that they might like to run a careers carousel for their teachings, for their school staff or college staff to meet with employers, then we can look to do that. And also there'll be a series of one-day workplace visits as well that will be running in May and June time. And within the next week or 2, you will be getting sort of the information and menu sent out to you, along with sort of some materials to try to engage your teaching staff. We're happy to come along to any staff meetings that you might have to talk about these different events as well, of course. And we'll also be sending you out some information that you could potentially send to your employer networks and supply chains and parents to try to encourage them to sign up to deliver some of this as well, so that there'll be even more opportunities then available to your school and college staff. What we're hoping with this is that it will is the idea of influencing the influencers, essentially. And we know that teachers in particular and support staff within schools, along with parents, probably are key influencers when it comes to young people making decisions about future progression with study and also career decisions. So the hope is that this will really help support your school and college staff with this. And hopefully make it so that there are more links with careers into the curriculum areas and more conversations, I suppose, really about careers that link to those subject areas from your school and tutorial staff. So say within the next week or so, you'll be getting the information out. There is a little section on our website with some information if you do want to find out any more about that. Things you can expect from us this term. So most of you would have already received your Gatsby Benchmark 1 report. So we did this last year, and the schools in Southend and Thurrock really appreciated these reports. They're not here, they're not sent out to you to pressurise you in any way, but simply so that you've got all the resources for Benchmark 1, including templates, ideas, websites, checklists, all in one document for you to go through. And even if you think that you've already achieved Benchmark 1, I'd still highly recommend that you go through that document just to check to make sure that you are where you should be, and there's some sort of hints and tips on there for you to look at. There's also the final page on that document that you would have been sent is also a list of different resources that you might want to put on your website and VLE that are useful for the various different audiences that we have for careers education. I'd suggest that you work sort of through those reports, I suppose, really with your enterprise coordinators. So that benchmark 1 is such an important benchmark and sort of is the bedrock to everything, really. So really important one to get right. In March, we have our next Careers Leader Peer Network. So if you remember, those of you that managed to come in in November last year, we have our next peer network meeting in March. There will be some lesson plans and resources available that go alongside our Where Next booklet, which is our labour market information booklet coming out. There will be further information on our website regarding the provider access legislation, which I'll quickly touch on in just a second anyway, including a list of different providers across Essex and sort of just the neighbouring areas as well for some of you that are more on the borders of different technical and vocational training providers. Mentioned teacher encounters already. We are going to be, I know George has been running weekly droppings for careers leaders and EAs over the last couple of years, really. We are going to take over that baton, and so every week there will be a drop in, no particular topic, but just there if you need us, really. And so we'll be sending you out the links to those shortly. Our local careers provider, so careers activity provider directory is being updated as we speak, and we will nearer the end of this term run a series of different workshops to help you in terms of completing your Compass Plus evaluations, because we're aware that particularly within the Essex schools you perhaps wouldn't have had that support before, so we'll run that through with you. Couple of little reminders. I'm sure you're all very aware that National Apprenticeship Week is very much on the horizon. Maisie has kindly set up a news article area within our website, and so anything that we find out about regarding National Apprenticeship Week is being updated on there. That is going to be continuously updated, so do keep checking back in on that. For example, the speakers for schools from SS&C is one of those ones on the list on there, so do keep checking in on that, and we'll send you out the link to that after this too. I'm not sure that Nick's on the call, which is a shame, but big, huge, massive congratulations to Eastwood Academy, who won the £500 for their school careers programme. We had, if you remember, the Where Next booklet that came out maybe November time, maybe October time. There was a competition within that that your students could enter. We had 286 different entries from across the county, and we picked very much at random just before Christmas the winner of that. So one of the students from Eastwood Academy received an Amazon voucher, and Eastwood are getting £500 for their careers provision. And just a reminder that booklet is still very much available on our website. You can either download it as a PDF or it's available as an online flip book that you can use as well. Save the date for your diaries, and I know many of you have already registered to attend this, and I'll make sure that I send the link out so that you can attend it. 22nd of March is our next Careers Leader Network group, and the venue for that, it will be an in-person event. The venue Maisie's just sorting out at the moment, but we will make sure that it's as central as possible so that people don't have to travel too far for that. Last time we had about 60 people attend that, so it was a really good turnout, so great if you can come to that. And I suppose the biggest reminder really for you, although I'm sure it's already on all of your radars and firmly embedded in your brains, is about the provider access legislation. This is now live, so the updated statutory guidance for careers guidance and which include the provider access legislation is now live. There is, under resources on our website, there's links to different to the actual statutory guidance, but also to the careers and enterprise company resources as well on our website. So just a few little reminders really, I suppose, from us. One is obviously get planning those encounters for the various different groups. I suppose a couple of things to remember though is think about what's taken place already for you this year and for some of the year groups last year as well. because some of that may already fulfil some of the minimum requirements for the provider access legislation. Think about what providers and employers you already have booked to come in this year, and can they help support with this as well. And sorry, it's my spelling mistake there. And also find out who your local FE colleges, apprenticeship providers and independent training providers are as well, because many of them will already be offering outreach work to you. Also, a reminder that you do need to update your provider access statement on your school or college website. So there is a template for that within the last few pages on the statutory guidance. So there is just a template that you can copy, update a couple of your details in, and then update your website for. So you haven't got to rewrite it or anything else, but it is on there if you'd like it, if you need it. Most of this, I'm not going to go through this in detail because I'm conscious of time, and also you would have seen this quite a few times now, I suppose. But just to be aware of these three key stages: year 8s, year 9s, year 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s. So phase 1 and phase 2, it is a mandatory that all pupils attend, and phase 3 is mandatory that the school puts on, but optional for the students to attend. And in terms of and just a reminder that the two encounters can't be from the same provider in the same phase. You can have a provider that comes to phase 1 and then again in phase 2, but not at the same time. So you couldn't have it at the same time. These criteria, for those of you that came to our Careers Leader Network back in March, you would have seen this already, and we'll make sure, Julie, you're just asking, yes, you will get a copy of these slides, so don't worry, you'll have them on there. But I suppose one key thing to note is that there was quite a lot of conversation at the Careers Leader Network meeting regarding, at the time, what we thought was going to be in there, which was that the encounters had to take place on the school premises. What you'll see is that that's no longer in there. So for some of you that do go out to visit colleges or perhaps others or sixth forms, then that can still count as well, so long as they're covering the criteria. And the criteria, so this is what, as a minimum, the provider has to cover. So information about the provider and about the qualifications that they offer, information about the careers that those qualifications could lead to, a description of what learning or training with that provider is like. And finally, there has to be an interaction. So in order for it to be a meaningful encounter, there has to be that opportunity for responses to questions for pupils as well. So something like an assembly, I'd probably question if that's going to be if that could be counted as this, because I know what I was like as a student. There's not a hope in hell that I would have ever spoken out loud in a large assembly. So therefore, there's not really that opportunity to respond to questions or to ask questions. So they're the criteria. And as I say, all the resources for this are on our website, on the Careers and Enterprise Company website. And this list is in the new statutory guidance as well. So let me stop sharing. I'm also going to stop recording as well.